the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business.
No, I was dumber than that. Something like Rex.
Quentin Tarantino loves messing with audience expectations, but in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he really outdid himself. Everyone who knew the story of Sharon Tate was sure there was no way to avoid tragedy, and everyone familiar with Tarantino's style expected a brutal, shocking ending. But no one saw this twist coming.
What the
Then there were people who had no idea what happened to Roman Polanski's wife. For them, the movie felt like 2 hours of a slow, laid-back story leading up to 15 minutes of pure chaos. But in the end, both groups were left asking the same question. What just happened? What was Tarantino trying to say? In this breakdown, I'll show you how the director literally laid out the film's meaning, leaving tons of clues that are easy to miss. So, what is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really about? Tarantino's movies are often seen as pure entertainment. Cool characters, stylish scenes, dark humor, and endless conversations about everything and nothing. And yeah, he's a master of that. But there's almost always something deeper underneath. Thoughts on power, violence, fate, and society. The key is knowing where to look.
Rick fucking Dalton.
This film is definitely not meaningless, but it's tricky to interpret. Most likely, only Tarantino himself fully understands all the hidden references and symbolism packed into it. But let's try to break it down. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino tells 3 stories at once. The first is about Rick Dalton. He used to be a TV star, but Hollywood has already forgotten his name.
It's official, old buddy. Well, it has been.
What are you talking about? What did that guy tell you?
Told me the goddamn truth is what he told me.
Now he's desperate for any role he can get, playing bad guys in other people's shows, realizing more and more that his best years are behind him. The second is about Cliff Booth, Rick's stunt double, driver, and honestly, his only real friend.
That sounds like a good friend.
I try.
Unlike Rick, Cliff doesn't dwell on the past or worry about the future. He's calm, confident, and unshakable. While Rick drowns in self-doubt and booze, Cliff just enjoys the California sun, living in the moment, and throwing punches when needed. This is a story about friendship. But then there's the third story, the one that has nothing to do with Hollywood, bars, or film sets. A story where there's no place for friendship, only fear, violence, and real horror. If you clicked on this video, you don't need me to tell you what happened to Sharon Tate and her guests. You already know. But what interests me is something else. Why did this particular tragedy become a symbol of the end of the 60s and a key moment for America? Back then, people lived by slogans of freedom, peace, and love. The hippie movement, which started in the mid-60s, had reached its peak. Young people were protesting the Vietnam War, preaching pacifism. The Summer of Love in 1967 became the ultimate expression of this movement, spreading from San Francisco to New York, Los Angeles, London, Amsterdam, and Toronto. Thousands of young people formed communes, rejected traditional values, searched for spiritual awakening, experimented with their minds, and truly believed they could change the world. It felt like the old ways were on the verge of collapsing. But then, the murders happened. 5 victims, including an unborn child. Charles Manson and his followers looked like hippies, talked like hippies, but they didn't bring freedom. They brought chaos. The whole country was in shock. Suddenly, it became clear that behind all the peace and love talk, there could be something much darker. Violence, fanaticism. Hollywood, which once felt safe, suddenly realized no one was untouchable. After that night, celebrities started building walls around their homes, hiring security. Before, people didn't even lock their doors or think twice about picking up hitchhikers.
I'm only going as far as Westwood Village.
Hey, beggars can't be choosers.
Come on in.
But everything changed, and so did movies. Hollywood could no longer exist in a bubble of beautiful illusions. The carefree films of the past disappeared, replaced by a new wave of darker, more cynical cinema. Taxi Driver, Apocalypse Now, The Shining. All of these films were born from the fear that consumed America in the 70s. Manson became a pop culture icon, a symbol of an era ending. And both the real tragedy of Sharon Tate and the fictional story of Rick and Cliff are central to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But it seems like, for Tarantino, they're not the most important part. While the audience is focused on two storylines, Rick's fading career and the horror brewing on Cielo Drive, Tarantino weaves in something else, something that might matter to him the most, the story of Hollywood itself. Cliff gets into his car, starts the engine, and for the next 3 minutes, nothing really happens. But somehow, it's pure magic. 3 minutes of just driving, yet it's one of the most mesmerizing scenes in the film. The low hum of the engine, the DJ's voice on the radio, the tires on the pavement, rock and roll blasting, neon lights glowing. At some point, you stop just watching Cliff. You're right there with him, in the passenger seat. The wind in your hair, the warm night air, the distant hum of the freeway. You feel the city breathing. You're transported to a time and place you've never been. But somehow, it feels strangely familiar. This drive isn't just about getting from point A to point B. It's a trip through time, into an era, into a whole atmosphere. It's the feeling of Hollywood, alive and breathing, always shining, always pulling you in, always hypnotizing. And the movie is full of scenes like this. Polanski and Sharon driving to a club. Cliff cruising through L.A.
Stars of the Los Angeles television premiere of Love, Hate, and Dishonor, Saturday at 9 on KHJ TV 9.
Every single trip is shot with love with obsessive attention to detail. These scenes are filled with iconic TV shows, forgotten movies, real names, objects that used to be in every home.
Okay, Peggy, whatever.
The Hollywood of the 60s isn't just a backdrop, it's a living, breathing character with its own story.
In the attic.
These three.
So, what do we have in the end? The story of Cliff and Rick, the story of Sharon Tate, the story of Hollywood itself. They cross paths, but a lot of people feel like the movie is all over the place. Like these storylines don't really connect into a single picture. But if you look closer, you realize this isn't three separate stories. It's three versions of the same idea, running through the film from the very first shot to the post-credits scene. So, what is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really about? Let's start with Cliff and Rick. Rick Dalton is the classic Hollywood leading man.
Bounty Law. Starring Rick Dalton.
On screen, he plays tough guys.
Go back a bit, would you?
No, he's right. Back to one.
But in real life, he's a mess. A weak, insecure wreck who never stops whining.
Slightly more useless each day.
He spends his nights drinking expensive cocktails, wakes up hungover,
Well, you were drinking all night. And drinking again. 8 goddamn fucking bullshit.
forgets his lines on set,
Line.
Maybe he already...
and constantly panics that his career is falling apart.
It's official, old buddy. Well, has been.
Sure, he lives in a mansion, but deep down, he's eaten up by fear. Fear that his time is up.
5 years of ascent, 10 years of treading water, and now race to the bottom.
And then there's Cliff, a real tough guy.
He's a goddamn war hero.
A war veteran, cool, confident, unshakable. He doesn't have a pool, no fancy house, no big rolls, no expensive whiskey. He lives in a trailer, eats TV dinners, and yet he seems completely at peace with himself. Every day they hang out together, watch movies, talk, drive to set.
You gonna come in and watch my FBI?
Well, I just figured we would. I got...
Whoop. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
But in the morning, one of them goes off to pretend to be a badass, while the other climbs on a roof to fix a TV antenna.
I think the wind blew down my TV antenna last night, so while I piss fart around the wardrobe, you mind going home and fixing it?
I can.
Guys like Rick, they're the face of Hollywood. Guys like Cliff, they're the ones doing the dirty work to keep Hollywood running. Hollywood isn't a place where stars rise to the top because they're the best. It's about luck, right time, right place. Maybe their neighbor is a famous director. Maybe they played golf with a producer. Maybe their face just looks good on camera.
Polanski's the hottest director in town right now, probably the world. It's my next door neighbor. I could be one pool party away from starring in a new Polanski movie.
And the people who actually hold this industry together, the stuntmen, the crew, the workers, they stay in the shadows. Hollywood is a world of illusions. Nothing is ever what it seems. But things get really interesting when the film starts hinting at Cliff's past.
What? Huh.
The dude killed his fucking wife.
In the movie, it's all rumors, but in Tarantino's book, he says it straight out. Cliff did kill his wife, and it wasn't pretty. He used a harpoon.
What, you don't feel like fighting? Well, I feel like fight, because I've been up here by myself for 4 hours on this shithole of a boat.
He's not just a stuntman. He's ex-military. He has training, a dark past. He's a real killer. And if someone gets in his way, he won't hesitate to do what he always does. The irony is, Cliff isn't the guy who should be in the movie. In real life, everyone tries to stay away from him.
I don't dig him. And I don't dig the vibe he brings on a set.
Hey, jackass, this is our series lead. What are you thinking? Get the wardrobe off, get your shit, and get...
And this divide between illusion and reality becomes so clear at the end. When the hippies break into Rick's house,
How many other people are here?
Oh, just the one sleeping in the back there.
Cliff takes them all on by himself, while Rick is in the pool, chilling with headphones on.
On the countryside.
It's only when the last attacker, completely disoriented and losing her mind from the pain, falls into the pool that Rick grabs his movie flamethrower and dramatically finishes the scene. In the end, Cliff is rushed to the hospital.
You're a good friend, Cliff.
I tried.
And for Rick, the gates open to the world he's always dreamed of. As we learn from the book, this story quickly becomes a Hollywood legend. Everyone's talking about Rick, how he defended his home with a flamethrower, how he's just as cool in real life as he is on screen. Hollywood loves a good story. And now, Rick's a part of one. As for Cliff, with his leg injury that'll probably end his career, gets completely forgotten. Hollywood is an illusion. Tarantino shows us one of the biggest rules of the industry. What we see on the screen is just a pretty shell. Behind it is a completely different story. No wonder they call it the Dream Factory. Take George Spahn's ranch, for example. It used to be the location for iconic westerns. In the movies, it looks like this romantic place full of adventures and danger. But what's the reality? An abandoned farm, burnt walls, dirt, rats, flies, and hippies just wandering around.
So clean, it's actually good for your skin. So you never know. The next boy.
This is the real Hollywood, or Bruce Lee's story. In the movie, he's portrayed as a cocky narcissist.
But my hands are registered as lethal weapons.
When Tarantino was asked why he made the legend of martial arts look this way, he hinted that the real Bruce Lee wasn't too far off from the character in his film.
And he was always hitting them. He was always hitting them with his feet. He was always tagging. It's called tagging. And it got to be the point where, like, no, I refuse to work with him.
And the same goes for stuntmen. These guys do incredibly tough, dangerous work, but always stay out of the spotlight.
But say I fall off wrong and I sprain my wrist or I twist my ankle. Now, so Cliff here is meant to help carry the load.
They break bones, get hurt, sometimes even die. And the audience never thinks about the fact that in the most dangerous scenes on screen, it's not their favorite actor, but someone they've never heard of.
You could do anything you want to him. Shit, throw him off a building, right? Light him on fire, hit him with a Lincoln, right? Just happy for the opportunity.
Tarantino is a master at playing with the line between reality and fiction. It's interesting that in the scene with Bruce Lee, Zoe Bell, a real stunt woman who's worked with Tarantino for years, makes an appearance.
Whoa, 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 whoa! What the fuck?
He was impressed by her work as Uma Thurman's stunt double in Kill Bill.
Action! Lord. Action! Very good.
And since then, Bell has regularly had small roles in his films. You've seen her not only in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but also in The Hateful Eight, Death Proof, and others.
So why do they call you Six-Horse Judy anyway?
Because I'm the only Judy you've ever seen that can drive a six-horse team.
Another telling moment is the story of the young actress that Rick Dalton interacts with.
When we're on set, I prefer to only be referred to by my character's name. It helps me invest in the reality of the story.
In the film, she comes off as incredibly driven, dreaming of an Oscar, and genuinely admiring Dalton's talent. It seems like she's got everything ahead of her.
It's the actor's job to avoid impediments to their performance. It's the actor's job to strive for 100% effectiveness.
But if you look at Tarantino's book, it becomes clear. Her story ended just like that of hundreds of other talented child actors. She never got that Oscar, and her name got lost among the others. The story of Sharon Tate's murder is also directly tied to the idea of illusion and reality. When the hippies break into the house, Tarantino is basically showing us what Hollywood really means and what cinema is all about. Everything we've seen before was just a prologue. The real magic starts here. That cigarette, which has been lingering through almost the whole film like Chekhov's gun, finally goes off. It marks the moment that separates the real world from the world of cinema. Tarantino's kind of summarizing everything that's been shown. If Hollywood is the dream factory, then here, in the movies, I'm the king and the god. He can do whatever he wants with real-life events.
If you grew up watching TV, that means you grew up watching murder. We are in Hollywood, man. The people an entire generation grew up watching kill people live here.
These hippies who came to kill stars don't see the difference between reality and fiction, between real violence and movie violence. But they've got the wrong address, because this is Tarantino's world, and in this world Sharon Tate will live, and the era of carefree cinema will go on. In the very last scene, we see an ad for the fictional tobacco brand Red Apple with Rick Dalton.
Now, I smoke red apples, been smoking them for years.
It's another confirmation of the main idea. The beautiful picture on the screen is just a facade, hiding the reality underneath.
All right, this cigarette tastes like shit. And by the way, who chose this photo, all right? I have a double chin, all right? Nobody notices that crap?
Let me know in the comments if you agree with my interpretation of the film, or if you've got your own version. Share your thoughts. If you like the analysis and want to see more videos like this, support the channel with a like and a subscription. It'll help make more interesting breakdowns like this one.